being here, or Danny, as we called him in the late 80s back at Lawrence High. So I'm going to briefly introduce the mayor and then ask him to speak. So Dan Rivera is currently serving his second term as mayor of Lawrence after winning a hotly contested election in 2013 by 81 votes. This has nothing to do with anything, but my grandfather ran for mayor of Lawrence in the 1950s and lost by 50 votes. So,
always close.
Mayor Rivera took over leadership of the city during one of its low points. Its finances were in shambles, its schools a mess, and its reputation as a crime-ridden, drug-addled city was prevalent. But during his time in office, Mayor Rivera has worked hard to let the city's true colors shine. He stood up for the city during the Columbia gas tragedy and demanded justice for its citizens. He has straightened out the city's finances, invested in libraries, and improved transportation and infrastructure. He increased diversity in City Hall, tripled the number of women in the police department, and hired the city's first Latina school superintendent. He has invested in youth programs, anti-gang initiatives, and trainings for victims of incarceration. Mayor Rivera paved the way for 6 Hollywood movies to be filmed in Lawrence, including Little Women and Daddy's Home 2. And despite some intense criticism, Mayor Rivera forged ahead with maybe the most controversial decision of his tenure to pave the way for the building of a Starbucks on 114 at the site of the old Showcase Cinema. I happened to be there Monday, and it felt really weird to be in a Starbucks in Lawrence. So thank you for doing that, Dan. I don't know how Dunks feels about that, but so welcome. We are really looking forward to speaking, for you speaking to us today. You are our 4th speaker. We've had some inspiring kids. You are the first public school kid to talk. We've heard from a lot of wonderful prep school kids. So we wanted to end the summer hearing from the experience of a public school brat. So welcome, Mayor Rivera.
Thank you so much, Erin, and folks for having me. There is almost close to 100 of you on this call, isn't there? I'm getting a little flop sweat right now. The notes say 15 instructors, 35 kids, but I'm very excited to be here. As a public school kid, a kid who went to Lawrence High School, I had lots of friends who were way smarter than me, who were able to participate in programs like this. And I learned a lot from them. The most important of all, I learned the courage to do the things you guys are doing and to test my abilities all the time. Like Erin said, I'm a Lawrence kid. I was born in the Bronx. I came to Lawrence when I was 5 years old. My mom came with me, my sister, my little sister, and my big sister to Lawrence so she could work in the mills sewing. She was a seamstress. We came from New York. My father was not involved in our family at all. So I grew up going to Lawrence Public Schools, graduated from Lawrence High School in 1989. And I was so, I was a kid that was really active in high school. I did, some theater. I was in student government. But I wasn't really all that great at classroom activities. I was maybe a B student on a good day, and most days weren't good, so I was mostly a C student. But I graduated on time, and I was so afraid to go to college that I applied to 5 schools. I got into 4 of them. The one I didn't get into was Fordham, and I really didn't not get into it. They just waitlisted me. And so I said, nope, I'm going to the Army. I used it as an excuse not to go to college. So I went to the United States Army, where I became a military police officer. I served our country during Desert Storm and Desert Shield. I went to Germany. I thought, I'll just go to Germany, spend 4 years, and maybe after earn some money for college. And then maybe after I'll go to college. Well, in 1990, we got a little situation happened in the Middle East. And Dick Cheney at that time was the Secretary of Defense. He later on goes on to be the Vice President under George W. Bush. He came on TV and he said, "Hey, we're going to go to war and we're going to get all the Iraqis out of Kuwait." And I got shipped from Germany to to Kuwait. And, we were the 3rd Armored Division military police officers, the most qualified, most technically advanced armored division in the arsenal of the United States Army. But we were all training to fight wars in Eastern and Western Europe. So it was a big change of place to have to go and figure out how to fight a war in the desert. But thank God it was a small time frame. We were at war during Desert Storm, Desert Shield, also known as the First Gulf War. And we didn't have to do much firing in anger. It ended up being a large refugee relief effort with very few lives lost. But I got home after my time in the Army, and I finally used my GI Bill money to go to college. I'm the first kid from my family to go to college. I went to University of Massachusetts at Amherst. And I learned very quickly the importance of finance. I thought I had all my money squared away. I went to orientation. I got pulled out of orientation and said, "Yeah, Dan, you're short about $1,200. You can't come in the fall." And if you've ever been to orientation, and you guys will go to orientation, it's like a huge pep rally for going to college. You get so excited. Like, I was over the moon. And then they were like, "You can't come." So I was short about $1,200. So I went to the, looking around for a job. I got to figure if I can make some money, I can stay and I can pay my bill. They sent me to the housing office. Now I was going to be a freshman. And I said, "Hey, do you guys have any jobs? Maybe an RA or something like that." And they said, "Well, you can't be an RA. You're a freshman." And I said, "I don't know why the lady sent me here, but I'm a non-traditional student." And they said, "Well, what do you mean like that?" I said, "Well, you got to understand, University of Massachusetts at Amherst has 25,000 students. And there's one RA per floor." And the lady said, "Well, what does that mean?" I said, "Well, I was in the Army." She said, "All right, now this is more interesting." And I told her I was a military police officer. And she said, "You had the job." So I was able to become a resident assistant in my first year in college. I was a freshman. I didn't know anything about being in college. But because of my military service, that helped me. Because of my time in the military, I did use my time wisely. I did take college credit in the Army. And so I was able to do my undergraduate degree in political science in 3 years, not the traditional 4. I came home, I ran some political campaigns, and we lost a lot. But because, when you come in third a lot, people start thinking you know what you're doing. And so one of the women who became mayor hired me to work in her office. I worked in the mayor's office. Short 3 years after leaving the Army, I was working here in this office where I became mayor later on. Her name was Patricia Dowling. She's a judge in Massachusetts today. But I go through this process. I work for the mayor's office. She comes out of power because she went to become a judge. And I ended up becoming the manager of the public housing project that I grew up in. Now, I don't know how many kids here either live in public housing or know kids who live in public housing. I grew up in public housing. And I ended up becoming the manager of the public housing project where I grew up in. So all these people who knew my mom, I had to collect rent from them and fix their toilets and all this stuff. So it was really like a homecoming to do that. And so I used that nights and weekends when I was being manager at the public housing project to do my MBA, to go to school at nights and weekends to get my master's in business administration. Again, I never thought in my life that I would have to ever do that. But I did that over a couple years. I got my MBA, and I went to work in the private sector. Usually it's a very hard transition. People don't want to hire people from the public sector in the private sector. But I learned how to do some work around data and information, and I was able to do the transition into the private sector. Lived life for a long time in the private sector, and I came home and I realized there was some problems going on in local government. And if you think about where you live, you don't think about those things because usually you're thinking about the problems at the federal level, the state level, either the governor's doing something or the senator or the president in current times. But the form of government that impacts you the most, and you may not know this, is local government. If I don't fill the potholes, you feel it every day you go by it. If I don't pick up your trash, you smell it right away. If you don't have people of, of age to go to the military, and we go to war, you may not feel that. But as a community, you feel everything that happens in local government. And we went through a very tough time in local government when I came home, and I decided to run for city council. And I got elected to city council, and it was an amazing time. Barack Obama was president, first black president of the United States. Deval Patrick was governor, first black governor in the state of Massachusetts. A majority of the members of the city council were people of color in Lawrence. Majority of the people on the school committee, and the mayor, the first time we properly elected a mayor was a person of color. That's the good news. The bad news is he didn't do such a good job, and the type of attention that he garnered towards the city was not great. So we spent 4 years really struggling, and if you Google Lawrence, City of the Dam, I think that encapsulates really what happened in Lawrence. And so somebody had to step up, and I never really thought, I really like being in the background. I'm a workhorse, not a show horse. And I feel like workhorses have, better lives. We're, like good campers and stuff like that. And so I decided to run for mayor. And it's funny because everybody, when we talk about back, they say, "Oh, I remember you always wanted to be mayor." And I don't ever really remember wanting to be mayor. But I do remember wanting to change the way people think about Lawrence. And Lawrence is a very important city in the Commonwealth, and cities like Lawrence are important in the country. Because this is the place where people come from other countries to start their path in American society. They come from Guatemala, Dominican Republic, Haiti. That's where they come today. Before, they came from Ireland, Poland, Italy. They came to places like Lawrence to begin their path through society. And we have to run these organizations, these levels of government well enough so that people have a place to come, and we always have this ecosystem of American society. And so I ran. The hardest thing to do in American politics, you can take this to the bank, is to unseat a sitting popular mayor. And no one wants to help you because the mayor's in power. You're going to be against the mayor. They have all the trappings of government. And so it was really difficult. So when we won by 81 votes, I won by less people than are on this Zoom right now. Less people than are on this Zoom right now voted. And, usually they say, well, he won because this group of people came out to support him. It was more white people than brown people. It was more progressives than conservatives. The biggest group of people that helped me win was a group of people, cross-cultural, that said, I think that guy's going to lose, but I'm going to go vote for him anyway. People think, I'm pretty sure that guy's going to lose, but I'm going to vote for him anyway. And we won by 81 votes. We had to secure the ballots, police officers. We had a recount, like George W. Bush style in Florida back in the day. So I know some of you guys don't remember that. But, we started changing. And so we won by such a close margin that it was dangerous. So that we ended up winning the day and becoming mayor was a big deal. And Lawrence had gotten to a point where no one wanted to come and participate in stuff and stand next to the mayor, the governor, the senators. Nobody would come and bring money to the city. So the moment I get elected and I get sworn in, I spent some time with then Governor Deval Patrick. And I said to him, I don't understand why people are so excited about this thing. City north of Boston. In the way we do. So the way of the army to doing it in the United States Army and serving our country overseas. I'll say just the last couple of things I always tell everybody, like the biggest reasons why I was able to get where I'm going, it wasn't because it's never definitely because I was the fastest, because I've always been a chubby guy. But I worked hard, especially when people weren't looking. I never took anything for granted. And I made my case every time, and I fought for everything that was supposed to come my way. We don't always win. We always do. We always do fight. I don't worry about things that I can't control. and we worry about a lot of things. But I always tell people, the things that you should be really scared of is the stuff you can't see coming. And you shouldn't really be scared of that because you can't see it coming. When it happens, you're not going to see it coming. But the things you can see coming, that test tomorrow, graduation, the date that you're going to go on, your job, that stuff is coming. So worrying about it really doesn't make any sense. Just go and prepare for it. And never is one of those things that you worry about ever as bad as you think it's going to be. Think about it in your head. It's really never as bad as you think it's going to be. If you think a train is going to hit you and it doesn't hit you, then you're good. But when you're not looking, you get hit by a train, you don't even see it coming. So you can prepare for that by stepping out of the way, but you can't prepare for the one stuff that you can't see. So I hope I'm making that point very important, because that's really important. It's what drives fear. So don't be afraid to try things or to put yourself out there. Run for mayor or go to a college far away, go to a college close by, or go overseas. That's the stuff that's good. It prepares you for the stuff that you don't see. If I hadn't gone to the Army, I wouldn't have been able to pay for college. If I hadn't gone to the Army, I wouldn't have been able to pay for college because it wouldn't have made me an RA. Yeah, I had to go through war to go to college, but in the end, I ended up going to college. And so from a kid from Lawrence, from an immigrant background, my mom's from the Dominican Republic, all things are very possible. All things are very possible. And the limitations are really in your mind. I don't think that I could be president. Well, nowadays, who knows who could be president. But the reality is that you can do a lot of things that you have to just set your mindset to. And take it from a kid, again, from the projects, who got to be mayor by 81 votes. There's a lot of you guys out there that can change the world. Female presidents and senators. You're going to buy your first home. You may not think you can do that, but you're going to do that. You're going to go to college. You're going to graduate from college. All those things that seem like that you maybe not even see anybody near you doing, you can do those things. I'm a testimony to that. So I'm going to leave it there because I think that we're going to have some questions. I mean, I don't know how you do questions with 100 people, but I'll take some questions if you want.
Danny, I have a question for you. One of the big themes of these talks in this summer has been the importance of mentors and people that have helped you along the way. And I know that you're a boys club kid. Can you talk about how people helped you when you were, in high school and who your mentors were?
Yeah, I mean, I would start by saying, paint the picture of my house, right? So it was my mom, my older sister, me, and my younger sister. So when my mom wasn't working or taking care of my younger sister, she was sleeping. There wasn't much time for us to do lots of family things. So I ended up leaning a lot of times on my teachers at school. I played football. I wasn't very good at it, but the coaches on my football team. But more importantly, I was a Boy Scout, a member of the Boys Club, Civil Air Patrol. And in every place, there was a male figure that supported me and helped me figure out my ethos, the way I was going to live my life. It's weird, especially since you don't have a dad, if I don't have a dad in my house, to think of these people as father figures. But it was very important to be a joiner, to be part of an organization with a set of rules and a set of understandings. There's rules at the Boys Club. You get the way you can act. There's rules. There's the Boy Scout oath and the Boy Scout motto and the Boy Scout law, Civil Air Patrol rules. And there was these structures that were really absent from my life that these men who ran these organizations supplied me. But it was very important because, again, if you don't have, let's say you want to be an attorney, and you don't have an attorney in your family, they can't express to you how important it is to study for the bar exam or what to expect from the bar exam or how they did it. Because you should take all these chances, but you also doesn't mean you can't get help along the way. And so for me, mentors have been a very important thing. And a lot of them were informal. The real formal ones I found later in life who really helped me out. But as a kid and growing up and going through college, a lot of informal, a professor in college I can think of, teachers in high school. I don't know, Aaron, if you remember Liz Jeltnes from Lawrence High. Even the Roushes, I think about Mr. Roush, and stuff like that. The people really helped us put our heads straight. It was very important because if you live in a very nice family with a dad and a mom and supportive family members, that's what it feels like when you have good mentors and you don't have that at home. Because you can come home and say, hey, mom, I had a bad day. But if you can go to a meeting or be part of an organization and say, hey, coach, I had a bad day, it feels the same way for me.
Thank you. Any questions for the mayor from any of our students?
I got a quick question. Who was a father figure from Boys Club for you?
For the Boys Club, the most redheaded white guy there, Billy Robinson, he taught me how to swim. I still can't swim, but he taught me how to swim. I was a member of the Sharks, Billy Robinson. He taught me how to swim. Yeah.
His hair went white.
It's white now. It used to be red.
Oh, wow.
It used to be a redhead. He taught me how to swim. It was really cool. I was part of the boys. Imagine that. I couldn't swim, but I was part of the Boys Club swimming team, the Sharks.
I am. I'm part of the Sharks, and so is.
So there you go. I have not done well by my teaching.
Questions in the chat too, that some students were.
I'll ask some of that. When did they start? Joanna, you went to UMass Amherst?
Yeah, I did.
Holla. Where'd you live?
Southwest.
I was a freshman RA in Washington on the second floor. It was like the worst place I could be. But you should all go to UMass. Don't get that wrong. It's a great time. And you learn a ton.
One of the students, I can read out one of the questions that I saw. So one of the students asked, I guess they were wondering on a video that they saw of you saying like all lives matter, and they just wanted to ask if, first of all, if you said that you like the meaning behind it, and then they went to say like how we live in a city filled with people of color, like you mentioned before. So she just wanted to see if you could clarify on your opinions on all lives matter versus
That's a good question.
Matter.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I've said that before. I'm pretty sure I said it before. The movement took the level it's gone to. But I gotta tell you, like being the mayor and being a Afro-Latino during this time has been very challenging because there's duties to being the government, but then there's also duties to humanity. And we have been working for 7 years as mayor, and we went from having 15% people of color in the police department to a majority of the people in the police department, men and women, are people of color. Almost it's night and day. We put the first 2 Dominican lieutenants into of rank, and so we've done the stuff you can do as mayor to diversify our public safety. But I think that Black Lives Matter is very important because all lives can't matter till Black Lives Matter. And it's not like everybody's dying at the gun of a police officer. Mostly black men that are dying at the gun of a police officer. So yeah, I think you're gonna find evidence of that. But I think today, the agenda is Black Lives Matter. The agenda is take away qualified immunity. Get them certified. We have good police officers, but local government is where you can change all that. Who hires a police chief? It's not the president. It's me. And my police chief is he's Portuguese. His parents live on Beacon Street in Lawrence, and he's a Lawrence High School kid. And so he's helped me, and so help me make sure that we diversify the police officers. And we hire kids from Lawrence, kids who went to the boys club, kids who understand what it is to grow up in Lawrence. So it's tough being both the government and trying to change the government. But we're doing the best we can.
There was another question in the chat that would like some inside information about what you think about the pandemic and schools reopening next month.
So I have like 3 hats. As a parent with 2 kids in my house, I cannot wait to send my kids to school. And safely. And so we go back and forth about wanting to be in some places, but we also want them not to get sick. As a city school committee member, I know that the superintendent is working on a plan to figure out which way we're going to go. Is it going to be 100% back in school, 50-50, or some type of hybrid, or 100% at home? What we know for certain is about 2 or 3 things we know certain about with young people in school. Getting you in front of your teacher and amongst your classmates is important. That actual interaction is part of the development process is important. We got to do that safely. No one has figured out how to do it safely, and so they're trying to figure that piece out. No one knows how young people transmit it to other people and how dangerous it is for adults with underlying conditions, people with asthma. And it's really hard to have people who transmit it, who don't get sick from it, around people who get sick from it if they get it. So they're trying to figure that piece out. I think at the end of the day, it's going to probably be a hybrid model, something that has some time in class and some with small numbers of students interacting very little with other people, and some time at home. But it brings up 2 problems, 2 very important problems. One is, you imagine it took a pandemic to realize that we have too many kids in a classroom? We're finally going to address classroom size, but it took almost 150,000 people to die of a pandemic for us to talk about it. And the second piece is, not everybody got Wi-Fi at home. Not everybody can access the technology at home. So it's not going to be right the first time we do it. We're going to miss some stuff. We're going to get it wrong, but we're going to keep trying. And I'm a bit of a cheerleader when it comes to this thing. I'm not a subject matter expert on education. I just tell people, remember, it's the first time we're ever doing this. We're going to get some of it right. We're going to get some of it wrong. But we're going to keep working together as a community to make sure that in the end, it doesn't hurt the development of the kids.
Any other questions for Mayor Rivera?
She's a thotty, bro. Look. Look at him in the call. I screenshot it, bro.
Can you mute yourself, please? Thank you.
I have a question.
Thank you.
So, like, in your life, was there anyone that you aspired to be like an idol of yours?
You know what? I think different times in my life, I aspired to be different things. And so when I was in the Army, I wanted to be like General Colin Powell. I don't know if you know what General Colin Powell is. He's awesome. And I don't necessarily agree with him politically 100% of the time, although he supported Barack Obama, so he did okay. And then, you know, when I was in the private sector, I tried to be the best at the job that I had, and there's some people who were really good. And then today as mayor, I think about all the people that have been mayor and all the people that govern and things that they've done. And we have a picture of all the mayors ever in City Hall. And I put them up. We had them in the city council chamber. They made us move it. So they're all at City Hall. But there's a section next to the door when you come to City Hall of the 5 mayors that are important to me. And I try, the first one is the first one. So that one guy never changes. So it's 4 names that are important to me. And one of them was my former boss, Mayor Patricia Dowling. I tried to be like her. She was a very thoughtful person. The first mayor who was Hispanic, who was actually Marcos Devers, he wasn't elected, he was appointed when one of the mayors left. and John Buckley, who was one of the longest standing mayors of the city of Lawrence, because he was really a beloved figure. And Larry Lefebvre, who was a transitional mayor after we went from being an alderman system. And so every time in my life, there's been somebody different. And today I just try to be the best dad that I can be to my son Daniel and my daughter Charlotte, because it's different. They have what you learn as being a kid from Lawrence is that sometimes you don't have everything that everybody else gets to participate with. So George Stephanopoulos, who's got a TV show, when I was working in politics, I wanted to be like George Stephanopoulos. But George Stephanopoulos at 35 was the chief of staff to the speaker, the minority leader, Gephardt at the time. He was already working in Congress. He was already a power broker. I was like at the housing authority. So there was always different in my life. But that's a good question, Jada.
Thank you.
Mayor Buckley is the mayor that defeated my grandfather, so he's not beloved in
I'm so sorry.
There's always a big rivalry between the O'Connells and the Buckleys.
But to be fair, Mayor Buckley beat a lot of people.
He beat a lot of people.
There's another good question. I'll just read it off. It says, what made you want to come back to Lawrence? I know being from Lawrence, a lot of us have the mentality that we want to leave. Everyone talks about wanting to make it out. So what gave you motivation to stay?
Listen, I left for a while, but I came back mostly because this is home. I want when my kid grows up, I want them to say that kid, Dan Rivera, his dad was the mayor. His people are from here. I want my kids to be like, I'm going to Lawrence High School where my dad went to high school. I want roots for my family. New York, Chicago, LA, DC, those are really nice places. But there's never going to be a place where you grew up at, because you grew up in Lawrence. If you grew up in Lawrence, and those are some different kids. Where you grew up with is where you grow up. And you can make that place anything you want to make it. I can't really change. New York is New York. Unless you grew up in New York, you could change it if you grew up in New York. But for us, we can make Lawrence whatever we want because it's our home. And here's the catch. Only we can do that. Nobody else is going to come from the outside to do it, and not the way we want to do it. I love having meetings and people are trying to tell me the problems in our city and how we can fix it and how long they're trying to tell me how important it is for kids in Lawrence. And I said, you don't understand. I'm a kid from Lawrence. I know how hot it is on Park Street when there's no place to go swimming. I know how dark it gets walking home from the boys' club. I know how scary it is by the river during the wintertime. So, great. The things that we've been able to do by staying here and helping out. We have a good working government. We've been able to keep taxes low. It's really important to do. So I would say to you, definitely go away if you want to go to college, build those networks that they were talking about. I know Paul was talking about those networks, those connections. Those are very important to do, especially when you can bring it home and leverage them for everybody.
Here's another question from the chat. It says, what is one piece of advice you know now that you would give your younger self?
That piece of that I said earlier, hearing about stuff. If talking to myself, I can tell them, hey, don't worry about it. You're going to be chubby all. The things that we want to change how old are you guys that are on the call now? I mean, you're freshmen and seniors, freshmen, college seniors in high school. You're going to live a long life. I'm going to be 50 in December. So there's plenty of time to fall in love and live your life and start a business and run for office. Like, there's a lot of time, especially if, you take care of yourself, things like that. And so I wish I could go back and tell myself to not worry so much. That things are going to be okay.
Maybe we'll do one more.
Hello? I'm frozen. Yeah.
What?
Oh.
Look what you did, Nate.
I'm gonna watch
Okay.
it now.
No, because you seem like one of those people who would watch it. Because my father watches it too. So I was like, oh.
Watch I'll watch it.
Hey, I told you it was off topic. Hey,
Hey, listen, I will tell you this. There's a lot of questions about funding. I don't want to go away from it. I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen. I think we're gonna try our best to keep people safe, and I think we have to do something. What's certain is that it's not good for us not to get back into a learning environment, and we don't have not everybody has the technology to go online, and so if we stay online 100%, there's a huge group of kids, a huge group of youth that aren't getting any education at all. And also the schoolhouse is a place of safety. And maybe many of you don't know someone who goes to school because it's safer than being home. And so we gotta create that environment. So I don't know what's gonna happen in the end, but we'll do that. We should spend as much money. Somebody said the other day, we should treat schools like palaces, and we should pay teachers that we pay baseball players. That's how important school is. That's how important school is. And so I'm 100%. We've always increased how much we pay for schools here. We balance it, of course, with how much taxes we have to pay. We have to charge on a lot of people who are below the poverty line. But we fix the schools. We're gonna build 2 schools. The Oliver's gonna get rebuilt, and the Leahy's gonna get rebuilt. And so we're working at to make as many palaces as we can.